So let's take just a few minutes to talk about some case studies where a dangerous or hazardous material has been used in building materials or has been found inside of buildings, and what we now know from that. You have probably heard about Flint, Michigan, and exposures to lead that have come from pipes. When a lot of the buildings were built in Flint, lead piping was very common. And in fact, until recent years, there weren't really concerns about people being exposed to lead from those pipes. The reason why is that over time, pipes will build up a biofilm. It's sort of icky, gooey stuff that you might feel on the inside of a fish tank, biological material. And in the case of water pipes, this is a good thing. It was preventing the interaction of water with the lead pipe itself. So water was flowing through those pipes without bringing with it a whole bunch of lead. What happened in Flint, Michigan, is that they actually changed the water supply that they were using. And they didn't treat that water in the same way. So in came a new water supply, and it flushed away that biofilm. And suddenly, the lead was in direct contact with the drinking water. So a material that when it was first used, a lead pipe, might have been concerning, although we didn't know enough to be concerned. Over time, built up a biofilm, so we don't have to worry about it anymore, leaching lead. And a cost-saving decision to change the water source destroyed that biofilm and suddenly increased people's exposures to lead. I think there's a bunch of lessons that we can learn from this. One would be that sometimes saving money in one place costs us in another. The cost of exposure to lead is profound at a societal level. Children aren't being exposed in Flint at levels that are killing them. They are being exposed at levels that will affect their IQ, that will affect their ability to maintain attention in classrooms. Those are things that have cost to society, and I think they should be valued. Another important lesson is that here we have a material that is dangerous, but was being used in a way that had much less danger associated with it. Having lead pipes with a good biofilm that's built up is not necessarily hazardous because there is no dangerous exposure that's occurring until, of course, that biofilm is lost. Another great example that I would like to highlight is the use of asbestos in building material. Now, you're experts in something like asbestos, so I don't have to tell you or convince you that this is a material that has hazard. But a lot of other people, for a very long time, used asbestos without ever worrying that it was hazardous. It was being used in oven mitts. It was being incorporated into shoes so that people could dance on hot coals. It was being incorporated into hair dryers so that the inside coils of a hair dryer weren't very high. It was thought to be safe. Why? Because it's natural. It's something that's mined from the ground. And no one was thinking that this amazing material that has these great flammability characteristics, it doesn't get hot, it doesn't burn. It's great for building materials. No one thought that it was hazardous. It took a long time to build up the data, unfortunately, from people who are exposed usually as part of their occupation, but not always, because people carry home asbestos fibers on their clothing, which means that if their spouse is doing the laundry, if their children are around their dirty laundry, they were also exposed to asbestos. It took a long time to get the data collected, to be convincing enough to decide that asbestos was hazardous. And it's been regulated here in the US so that we no longer use it. But it is still being used. It's still in buildings, in old buildings. And when we go to take down those old buildings, we have to know whether or not asbestos is present. We have to use the right experts to remove asbestos from those building materials. This is not a hazard that you want to take lightly. This is a serious cancer risk for people that are exposed. Asbestos causes cancer because it has small fibers that embed their way into tissues in our body. They can embed their way into the tissue that surrounds our lung or other tissues that surround our organs of our body. And it can create cancers that are very difficult to detect and very difficult to treat. So lessons learned from asbestos, just because it's something that's found in nature, and just because it's something that has this amazing property of reducing flammability, does not make it something that we want to use in our homes.